This is the big house. You guys saw this wrap, saw the walk around and how we did everything. I'm going to show you a couple reasons of why we tented some of the stuff the way we did. So you got this deck here coming all the way. The reason you saw we put a tarp all the way across that instead of just pulling up the board and cutting it off or something. When you have a structure like this, it's all wood and it's connected. You want to make sure that you're putting gas into everything so that there's nothing, no termites or anything in the deck that could come right back to the house after you tent and remove the tarp. You see where we got the dirt at all the corners and seams and everything. Of course, that's you want to make sure there's no air coming out at the bottom of any seams and stuff. As we come back after we cleaned up, we came back here, you make sure you fill in all your holes that you used, dig the dirt up, fill them in nice and good, stomp them in and make sure they're not, just a little bit of loose dirt, because if a customer comes back and steps in a hole that's not filled in right, it can hurt their ankle, break it, whatever. That's all kinds of problem. Again, same thing out here where you see this entire deck kind of comes off attached to the house like that. So rather than trying to pull any boards off and go down between, you're gonna go ahead and tent and gas the entire thing. Make sure it gets a good treatment throughout the entire structure. You can see how tall it is, so we had to go ahead and drop down a nice sized tarp and connect another piece to it the way we did. Back here we went around the pool and everything, because again the deck's still all the way connected. Where you got it like that, you want to treat all the wood that's connected to the structure. See the clearance notices going on now. Down the inside, clearing the house, making sure, checking for residual gas. When you see that sign, it's safe to go back in. Again, out here you see where this wood comes out off the house and connected to the deck, and that's where we went around, made sure we had a nice tight seal to the ground. And everything across this decking, as you saw in the tip video earlier, you want to make sure that's nice and tight to the ground and then flat against the wall. Prevent as much air as possible in there. Also makes your seams nice and tight so they're not going to come apart should a bad storm come through. Again, you go outside of most air conditioners, because you'll see they've got these big connections going into the house and stuff. And rather than trying to go around that or make a seam, it's usually a lot easier just to go around it, clear it with a rake, come in through here, get your ground nice and tight. Always remember, as a ground guy, when you're putting up, also when you're taking down, think about things like this. When you see sprinkler heads, as you take the tarps off the roof and you're dragging them out so you can go fold them, you want to make sure you're not catching the tarps on things like that, because you get kind of wrapped in the moment, rip that sprinkler head off, and that's actually a pretty costly and pain in the ass for whoever's running the company. So whether it's yourself or you're just a worker, it's definitely something you want to think about if you're trying to do a good job here. And where we got all these rocks and stuff, we came, these customers, sometimes customers will pre-prep a house for you, sometimes they don't. This house was already prepped for us as far as a lot of the rocks and things were raked back. And we had another deck out here, and that's where we went ahead up and went up over the concrete and sealed that off nice. Of course, all of these corners here were taped off. As you're doing the takedown, make sure you remove any tape from any of the corners. You don't want to leave any sign of you guys even being there. If you can, leave it cleaner than when you showed up. Alrighty.